Hi, this is Lori at the Country Crapper. I am going to show you how to make a card with a stamping technique called the swiping technique. So it's basically where you just take your stamp and swipe it across your ink pad for a different look to the print on there. So I'm going to show you the products that I use to create the card that I'm going to do with you on here. So the first one is the Aurora Card Making Stamp and Thin Cuts. Wherever there's blue on the stamp, that means there's a coordinating thin cut that is included in the card set, or in the stamp set. The second one is the Aurora Scrapbooking Stamp and Thin Cuts, and I'm going to be using this stamp. I've already stamped it for you. On this one, I am going to be using the wolf with the trees, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. I'm also using 3 of our new embossing folders. These are like half size embossing folders. So the first one is the Woodland embossing folder. Of course, my phone's gonna ring right in the middle of this. The next one is the Mountain Peaks embossing folder. And the final one is the Constellations embossing folder. I'm also using charcoal ink, and like I said, I'm using this stamp to show you. So, whoops, sorry that I moved that. I am going to, first I'm going to show you what this looks like if you just do a solid stamp on here. So if I ink this up, and I'm going to lay this down first. If I just ink this all up, make sure it's completely covered, and I stamp this down, I'm going to have a complete image. It's going to be filled in just a solid gray, solid charcoal color. So there you can see it's completely filled in. With the swipe technique, there's 2 different ways you can do it. You can either just swipe your stamp right across your ink pad, which is making it pick the ink up as you go. The way I like to do it is I like to fully ink up my stamp and then swipe it across, which takes some of the ink back off of it. Either way works just fine. It doesn't matter. You just have to decide which way you prefer. So I'm going to ink this up again. And I apologize for the glare. It's just my lighting in here. So I'm going to ink this up, and then I'm not going to apply a lot of pressure, and this needs to be very even. You don't want to pick it up halfway through, because you're going to have half of it that's got a smooth flow to it, and then you're going to have a bunch wiped off or a bunch left on. So you really want to just be very consistent and go straight across. So I'm going to put this down on my ink pad now, and I'm just literally sliding it right across. And then I'm going to stamp this down, and you're going to see a definite difference on this. So once I pull this up, you can see that this one is solid. That's the one that I didn't swipe, and this one has lines through it. It's not as clear as some of the other ones. I did one on this side too earlier, and you can see more lines on it. Then I would use the thin cut, and I would cut this out, but to save time, I've already taken care of that. And so here is one that is already cut out. You can see the lines through it, so you can tell that I used the swipe technique on that one. I then took a piece of sapphire cardstock, 12 by 12 cardstock, and I created a card base. So this is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So when I cut this out, I cut it at 5.5 and 8.5, so that when I folded it, I had my card size. And a lot of times I'll do my cards this way. This one I am going to do opening up left to right this way instead of top to bottom. All right, and so I have everything already embossed and cut out. I also did the swiping technique on this cutout. It has a canoe and some little water lines on here. So when I did the swipe across there, it kind of looks like water flowing. And you can see I've got some darker spots, which in a lake you would have some darker spots. So that worked out really nicely. And then I took some small pieces of the Aurora paper, and this one is embossed with stars. It's kind of hard to see on here. I don't know if I can even make it so that you can see it. I'll do my best. So that one I stamped with the constellations, or I mean embossed with the constellations. This one I embossed with the mountains. This one's very hard to see. I don't think that my Cuttlebug embossed it real well. And then this one definitely showed up. You could see the trees. This one was the woodland one. And I did it on the Aurora paper in a part that had trees already on it, so it just like completely worked together great. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start gluing these down. They are going to overlap because the trees are going to go up into the mountains a little bit, and also the sizes. It's just the way that it worked out. So I want just a very small, like 1/8 of an inch approximately, border around there. So again, I never measure. I always just kind of eyeball it. You can always fix it. Everything's fixable. If not, then I use it as my example of what not to do. Next, I'm going to do the mountain. And this is going to overlap the sky just a little bit. Not very much though, because I really want the trees to kind of stand out the most. So I'm just going to line that up and go right over the top of the constellations a little bit. Sorry, I couldn't get that out. The constellations a little bit. And then the final one is the trees. I gotta tell you, the trees are probably my favorite one out of the three. I do like the mountains, but it's very simple. The trees just seem to have a little bit more detail in them, and putting it on the Aurora paper just really made it pop. So I'm going to actually turn this around and go upside down so I can get that little bit on the bottom, the little bit of a frame on the bottom, and then have it overlap the mountains. And I may have it just a little bit crooked, but that's okay. Next, I'm going to put this Explore More down, and I'm actually going to put this one flat down on there. And not have this one popped up. So I'm gonna put this one kind of up here and off to the left. And you'll see why here in just a minute. I'm gonna have this one off to the left because when I put this one on, I don't want to cover up the words, and I'm going to have it over to the right a little bit more. So I am going to use some 3D foam tape to make that pop up. And this foam tape is nice because it's the Close to My Heart foam tape. It's nice because we have a wide width and a narrow width of the ribbon. Or I mean, sorry, of the tape. I don't know why I said ribbon. Anyway, I'm going to cut a couple pieces of this. I want a little bit bigger piece to go down towards the bottom and a little bit smaller piece to be up at the top, just to give it some support. And then I'm going to peel the backing off. And then I'm going to line this up so that I can still see my words. I'm not all the way on the edge there. And I'm down far enough that I'm on the section with the trees, but not covering up all the trees because I like those trees. Next, I stamped Go Forth and Conquer on a piece of the sapphire paper. There's two sides to this. There's a darker side and a lighter side. And so I used the darker side for the base of my card. The inside of my card is the lighter side. But on here, I wanted the lighter side. So that's what I stamped on. And I stamped Go Forth and Conquer. And then I cut a little dovetail at the end of that. And this one I am also going to glue right down on the paper because I want this wolf to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to glue this down. I need my little tape runner, but I'm not sure where it's at right now. And I'm gonna line this up on this edge and try to keep it even across here as much as possible and put that down. And there is the card front. I could do some little silver gems on here, maybe put them up here in the sky. I want this to be more of a masculine card, so I'm not 100% sure how I want to finish this off. If I wanted to do those little sparkles, I would definitely put them up in the stars, because then it's still a masculine card, but it's not too sparkly. Or I could use some stickles and kind of go on, or I could use some shimmer brush and add a little bit of shine to it. But I kind of like it just like this, so I probably will not do anything on the inside. I mean, I'm sorry, anymore on the outside. I'm getting ready to do the inside now. So I cut out a piece of the Aurora paper, and these are the Northern Lights. It's so pretty. I cut a piece of this out, and I cut this to be just about 1/8 of an inch shorter all the way around, but I didn't need it to go all the way down here because I'm going to put the trees down at the bottom, so I cut a strip of that. One of the things that I've been doing is trying to decorate the inside of my card just as much as I'm decorating the outside of the card. Also, our papers, you can see they're two-sided. This one has the Northern Lights and this one has the constellations on it. So I'm going to glue this down, and then we'll fold it in a minute, and we'll finish off the inside of the card. So I don't have to worry about the bottom. I do want to make sure I have the top and the sides lined up. Creating an image on the inside, or a design on the inside, is appealing to people too. It's kind of cool to open up a card, and instead of just having one little stamp on there that says happy birthday or thinking of you or whatever you are using for your sentiment, it's nice to see a little bit of a scene. So I could go see if I had some more wolf stamps. I could cut some of the wolves out, or do some more little trees. I could run this through the embossing folder and have this stand out a little bit. I'm gonna flip it upside down so that I get that bottom even, and I also want to get it lined up with my sides. So hang on. Okay, so there, I'm getting that lined up on the bottom, so I have about the same distance all the way around. And there is the inside of my card. So I already have created, just with the papers, I've created a scene with that. And then you could use your score pad. I've already folded this, so I already have my fold. And so I'm just gonna fold that over. And there is the inside of my card. So I was debating on what I wanted to stamp on the inside of this. We have graduations that will actually finally be coming up. So I thought, you know, go forth and conquer. These kids are graduating and we want them to go forth and conquer. So I thought maybe on the inside, I would just do a stamp that says adventure awaits. And then if I decide to use this as a birthday card, I can stamp happy birthday in here. If I decide to use it as a graduation card, then I can just find a congratulations on your graduation to add in there. But for now, I'm just going to do the adventure awaits. And so I'm going to use a black ink pad for that, stamp pad. And I want to make sure I have my cushion mat underneath of there. And this one I'm going to go up just a little bit higher because I need room to sign or to add another stamp on there if I decide to. So I'm going to try to stamp this the best I can with everything in the way, the lights and the camera. And And there it is, Adventure Awaits. And it like, I don't know, I love this paper. So this looks pretty cool. If I didn't want it just stamped directly on there, I could always use a lighter shade of blue and stamp and then cut it out and put it on here. But here is my finished card using the swiping technique. I also used some embossing folders, and I created a scene on the inside just with papers. You could always you could stamp stars on here, whatever you wanted to do, just create something on the inside. Even if I only did it on half of the card, it would still look good to have some design on there. So that is the swiping technique. If you are interested in any of the products that I showed today, you can go to my website at lorismith.closetomyheart.com, or you can check out my blog at thecountrycropper.blogspot.com, and I do have a link that will take you to Close to My Heart. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.